So to start us off, I just want to ask you a simple question, which perfectly transitions from how perhaps burnt out y'all are feeling. What are some things right now that are taking up mental space? You're thinking about your to-do list. So I wonder, it doesn't seem like you guys had to hesitate very long to think of what you had to do. Came up pretty quick. How did you feel in your body as you started to think about all those things you have to do? If you had to give some feelings that popped up, what would you say? So I want you to hold on to that so that you can notice as we do the writing kind of where you started and where we get. And it may not change at all, and that's okay. But even giving yourself permission to notice how you feel is an intervention when you're used to being so busy. So now that we're thinking about to-do lists, that's the same kind of way we're going to enter into writing into this list poem. So to ease us into the writing process here, I want everyone to take a moment and I want you to write in the chat, whatever you're comfortable sharing with this group. What are things you wish were on your to-do list? What do you wish you had the time for? And so you can finish that with, I wish I had time to, or if I were free, I would. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes here. Just think and write in the chat. Now, I invite you to do another sort of body scan, what we did after thinking about the things we had to do. And I want you to check in with yourself and ask how you feel. Because writing is really about the process more than the product. We're going to get to the product in a second. But if you had some words to come up before we dive a bit deeper, how was that for you to think of what you wish you could be doing? What feelings came up for you, or how did your body feel? You're like, oh, what is Asia gonna have us doing today? Right? She's got us thinking about this to-do list. I thought this was supposed to make us relax, right? But it's amazing, I think, and this is something I lift up with the clients I work with. We have poetry in us. Art is in us. And it didn't take a big thing. It didn't have to be fancy like Shakespearean, prose and rhyming. And look how it hung together. And so I think this is a great thing to do with a class or with staff because it has a way of bringing folks together. A common thing you'll hear is that, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that response, but that sounds lovely. Like, I wish I was doing that. And it's a good way to just connect without having to get too deep and share more than perhaps you want to. So that's in itself an intervention I encourage you guys to expand. We could spend a whole session on it, but I want to wrap with the remainder of our time together going a little bit deeper. So we're scaffolding. We started off with what's easy to think about, which is the stuff we have to do. Then we went a little bit deeper. What do I wish we could do? And then now we're going to come up to the deepest level and go to what do we need to say to ourselves? And so to do this, I'm going to start us with a guided meditation. Very, very simple. Again, I invite you to do a soft gaze, closing your eyes, cameras off. And I just want you to visualize as best you can as I lead you through the prompt. And then I'm going to invite you back and you'll have like 5 to 7 minutes just to write. And I'm going to write with you as well. So we're all going to be in this process together. Okay. So go ahead. If you're not already sitting comfortably, I invite you to get comfortable. Some folks get a little dizziness with eyes closed. So if you want to plant your feet on the ground to remind you you're grounded, I invite you to do so. So we're just going to take a deep breath, whatever that looks like for you. So in through our nose, a slow release. One more deep breath and release. And we're just going to spend a moment of quiet checking in with our bodies, noticing where there's tension, noticing where there's ease, feeling the support of the ground beneath our feet. the support of the chairs or places that we're sitting that are holding our bodies. Noticing any thoughts that may be interrupting this moment. And instead of judging them, we're simply going to just acknowledge they're there and then let them pass by as if they were a cloud in the sky. Telling ourselves we have time to sit here with ourselves with a moment of quiet. And as you start to sit in this moment of quiet, I want you to imagine if you were listening. It could be to your heart, it could be to your body, your spirit, maybe even your inner child, a younger version of yourself. A voice that's always there, but in the busy day-to-day, maybe we don't have time or make time to listen to. And I want you to imagine that voice, wherever it comes from, getting a little bit louder. This is the part of ourselves that isn't worried about being productive or taking care of others, but simply taking care of ourselves. And I want you to imagine yourself listening to that voice and what that voice has to say to you. What does that voice want for you? Is it joy? Is it rest? Is it doing something that fulfills you? Making time to connect with a loved one? But just imagine what that voice would say to you. The comfort that that voice brings you in your body. And just receive whatever they have to say to you. Perhaps they're telling you things you need to hear. You are enough. You are perfect as you are. Your worth is not tied to how productive you are. It's okay to let go. Maybe that voice is encouraging you to say something you've been holding back. The word no. Not yet. I need help. I need a break. I'm tired. I'm doing my best. And notice what feelings just come up for you as you listen to this voice. And as best you can, try to listen without judgment, knowing that this voice only wants the best for you, whatever that looks like. Maybe this voice has a lot to say, but we agree that we're going to wrap up this moment and check back in with each other at another point in time. If it feels comfortable, maybe imagine yourself embracing this voice, thanking them for looking out for you, for sharing. That could be thanking your body for getting you through the things you do on a day-to-day basis, your heart for the way you show up and care for those around you, your spirit for guiding you, your inner child for connecting you to joy, whatever it looks like for you. And we're going to take 2 deep breaths before we return into the room. So at your own pace, deep breath in through your nose, a slow release. And one more deep breath in through our nose. And a release. And in your own time, I invite you to return into the room, opening your eyes, turning on your camera if you feel so called. And now we are going to write. Okay, so you can use any prompt you would like. but if a starter is helpful, the same way that we write a grocery list, right? When we're writing things down that we need to get from the store on our errands. Doesn't have to, we're not writing a complete sentence, right? Sometimes eggs is just eggs, right? Other times maybe we have a recipe, and so we'll write a few things. Don't forget, check out the price of shredded cheese, right? Because I hate shredding cheese. That's me in my house. So it depends. There's no structure. And that's the same for a list poem. So I'm going to type 2 prompts to get you started, but feel free to adapt these to fit what works for you. So one option could be things I need to hear. And you could just write out the same way I was guiding y'all in the meditation. You could just write that out. Things I wish I was hearing. That could be from loved ones, coworkers, any context that you find yourself in. Another one that could get you started is what I'd really like to say. I did a funny one of this recently with a big staff, and they were like, I need to say hell no in more emails. And we all were like, preach, sis. Saying no, boundaries. So either of those or anything that maybe you want to go back to a line in the chat that you guys said. So if we go back, if I were free, I wish I had time to. You guys can use those as well. So I want you to just sit, and I'm going to give us, let's do about 4 minutes. It's one of my favorites because of how beautifully simplistic it is. And people are always like, a list. And it's like, but think like oftentimes I'm guilty of this too. I was like, oh my gosh, this is helping me as I'm sharing this with you all. If I want to paint, I'm like, do I have the right materials? Am I going to have a mess afterwards? But imagine just having 5 minutes in between meetings and just, we write lists all the time. We probably have like sticky notes around our desks of like, oh, I got to get back to so-and-so. So it really does meet you where you are. But it could go deeper. Like it could, I've used list poems to go back to things I needed to hear as a child, things that I need to say to a partner, things I hope I say to my kids. Like you could turn things that you're thinking through into the title of a list poem and take the pressure off and just see what comes up. Or perhaps keep writing or share with a loved one in the rest of your day. I invite you to revisit. And every one of the things you listed, like you do you, could be another list poem. It like keeps going. Like, what does me doing me even look like? Wear the thing that, is out of your comfort zone. Try a new recipe. Like it could be so many things. What does the handbook look like, Gretchen? Like, I'm writing the handbook because da 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 da, right? So I want to thank you guys for your time.